thinking about you all the time. Mary J. Blige. I want to talk to you all about mental health. And what do you guys think about mental health? Especially in black community, but not only the black community, but mental health in general. Personally, I have spoken to a psychiatrist one time in my life, and from that experience, I can honestly say that had I continued to go back to this lady, I would have had a breakthrough of some sort. Because she, it was maybe an hour session, and it was through the VA. And she touched on some things. I think the difference between having a conversation with, like, say, a family member or a friend, I think a family member and a friend are kind of guarded. They're not going to ask you certain questions, and they're not going to back you in a corner like a psychiatrist would. This lady, she had me in a minute. She was asking me some questions that I hadn't thought about in years. And being that she didn't know me and I didn't know her, I told her the truth. I'm an honest person, but, if a family member asks me certain questions, I'm going to be like, I'm going to get offended. I'm going to ask, why are you asking me this, So, I believe it's necessary. I think that it's time for us to really take a look at our situations. You got some people out there who's been divorced a couple times. You got people out there who's been abused, physically abused, sexually abused as kids. There's a lot of trauma out there. And I was going to bring this up earlier in the first video I made, but I completely forgot all about it. There's a lot of trauma. There's generational trauma. So my thing is, somebody said that I was Kwame Brown's cheerleader earlier. I don't know if they were being mean or just being funny or what, but yeah, hey, I'll be a cheerleader. I wish that Kwame would talk more about mental illness and mental health in general. Because not only do we need a trade, we definitely need a trade. I have a trade. I can fix anything. I fixed on all sorts of things, you name it. But at the same time, I think that a huge issue with people getting divorced, couples not staying together for more than 2-3 years. If you stay together for 5 years these days as a married couple, that's huge. Me and my wife been together for 20 years, and like I said, it hasn't been the easiest 20 years. We're still going. We still love each other. But I think both of us could benefit from some type of counseling from a professional. I'm not saying from sister, brother, mom. I'm saying from a professional. I think a lot of people, there's a huge communication issue. Kwame and Carcino was talking about that in their last video, and the video they made. And that bad communication in a marriage, whether it's somebody telling lies or just not getting the point across the right way, or just not taking a breath to step back from the situation and saying, hey, let me try to look at it from another perspective. Let me try to look at it from the other person's perspective. I think that would be very beneficial for us to start considering some type of professional counseling, as a whole. We say that we need to hold the teachers we need to put the teachers on a pedestal as far as education goes. I think the same goes for counselors. And some people may say it's too expensive, and I don't know. I went through the VA. The last time I went to a psychiatrist, it was through a VA, and so I didn't have to pay anything for it. You got a lot of veterans out there who are not taking advantage of that one particular service. I mean, and yeah, hell, I'm guilty. I need to go back. I need to go back. I went there the first time and I was kind of intimidated. I'll be honest with you, because this lady had managed to really dig real deep, really quick. She was asking me about my childhood, and she asked me about certain things, and I was honest with her. And it felt good. It felt good. It was just kind of like, if you can imagine being just naked in front of a crowd, it was kind of similar to that. I mean, that wasn't the good part, but I mean, that was the uncomfortable part. That was the part that made me kind of, uncomfortable. But now, looking back at it, I'm like, it was very necessary. I had to be stripped down of certain things, because we're by nature, our ego is going to guard us against certain things, because we don't want to look weak. We don't want to look like, especially men, we don't want to look soft. So that's one of the questions I'm asking, and I'm hoping that Kwame starts to speak about a little bit, and that's mental health. My next book, I can't give the title away because the title is that good. I really can't. I wish I could tell you guys the title, but this is like Kwame says, a hell of a nigga. The title is one hell of a title, and it's not necessarily. And I'm having trouble trying to explain what this book is about. It is about mental illness. It is about mental health. But I'm not trying to explain. I didn't write a book to try to fix mental health. I wrote a book to try to just shed light on it. It's kind of like a mirror, I would say, more than anything. It's like a reflection of our society, mental health. I can't even explain. I'm not the best at pitching my own books, y'all. I'm serious. I wish I was better at pitching my own books, but I know what the story is about. I know the story came from the heart. I know the characters are all genuine characters, and most of the time, I would say all the time, the story writes itself. In every last one of my books, the story wrote itself. But when it comes time to sell that book, to pitch it, because that's ultimately what you're doing, they got something called an elevator pitch. Try to explain the story and make it as dynamic as you can within a couple of sentences, maybe 3 or 4 sentences. It sounds easy, but that's one of the hardest things to do in the world, I tell you. But if I had to say what this book is about in a couple sentences, I would say that it's about society ills, or societal ills. 2 words. Because as a society, don't matter black, white, Puerto Rican, Mexican, Asian, Native American, it doesn't matter what color you are, what religion, what sexual orientation, we have our share of ills. That's a hint for the title, by the way. And so I'm just showing you what those ills look like. That's it. Not trying to fix anything. Not trying to. And sometimes you can fix a situation by showing the situation. So if I am trying to fix anything, I'm trying to fix it by just showing you all what, and putting some emphasis on. I do put emphasis on mental illness. That is a fact. But I'm not trying to. I don't have. If I could write a book to stop or prevent mental illness, or heal people from mental illness. I would have wrote that book 20 years ago, because my mother was diagnosed with bipolar schizophrenia in 2002, almost 20 years ago. I would have wrote that book a long time ago. You know, I have ADHD. I'm diagnosed. You know, so I mean, it's more than just one. First of all, the spectrum is so vast as far as mental illness goes. You got PTSD, you got ADHD. You have people on the spectrum. You autism. You have Down syndrome. You know, schizophrenia. So many different things. So you can't sum it all up in one book. You can't do it. But I touch on a lot of it. I do touch on a lot of it. Yeah, so that's one wish of mine. I wish that Kwame Brown, Mr. Bus Life himself, I wish maybe I'll message him, maybe he'll, consider it. I don't know. One thing in particular, in different communities, you have different issues, generational, I guess you can say, mental illness, or generational issues that get passed down from parent to child. I would say that from some serious tragedies such as slavery is one of those things, and the Holocaust is another one. The Native Americans being slaughtered, even though that was hundreds of years ago, some of those things still carry down. Some of those things are still here with us today. You also have sexual abuse in a family, that gets carried down. It's a lot of stuff. It's a very deep subject. It's a very deep rabbit hole, very deep. And I think that it's time for us as a whole to really tackle this thing and really just try to grab a hold of it and try to make some sense of it and try to fix it. So, yeah, if you guys agree, go ahead and spread the word. Maybe we can get it back to Kwame and get it on his platform. Just don't expect me to talk on it, though, because I'm not the expert. We don't necessarily need experts on this, though. Not when it comes to. I say that because sometimes when you bring an expert in, there's a whole lot of talking and nothing happens from it. Now, as far as you personally going to a psychiatrist and getting help, a counselor, yeah, I'm all for that. But bringing an expert on a panel, sometimes it's not necessarily good. It's not bad, but it's not a result. You don't see any results from it. So I think people, us, we the people, I think we need to just start talking about mental illness, mental health, our minds, our difficulties in just operating every day. We need to start talking about these things. Our children, because, yeah, our kids are awkward, socially awkward these days. A lot of our children are socially awkward. Not just mine, not just Kwame's, but a lot. And for the ones who are not socially awkward, a lot of times they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're into other things that they're not supposed to be into. There's a fine balance to everything. You can be shy, but when you don't want to come outside ever, that's an issue. When you don't want to speak to anybody, that's an issue. You can be outgoing, but when you always want to be outside, always want to be in somebody's face, That's an issue. You know? And for kids, that's not necessarily safe. You know, I had a little girl, actually my little cousin, on the 4th of July. She came up. Her dad is my first cousin, the second cousin. And it was the first time I seen him in a while, so I'm just messing with the kids, playing with him. And I'm shaking the kids. I'm shaking it. He has 3 daughters and 1 son. And his son is the oldest. Oh, man. Poor boy. And his son is, I think his son is about 11, something like that. And all the little girls was like 9 all the way down to like 4 or something like that. But one of the little girls, she was like a little cute little button. I tried to shake her hand. She said, "I don't shake strangers' hands." I was like, "What the?" I said, "Okay, that's fair. That's fair." I shook the other one's hands, and for the rest of the day, I just kept messing with her. But she had a very valid point. You know, you got so many child predators out there. I mean, hey, she had a point. I think her mom told her, you know, not to shake strangers' hands. She probably told all the kids that, but that particular one, she said, you know, she took heed to it. She said, "I don't shake strangers' hands." I'm like, "Girl, I'm your cousin. What are you talking about?" But yeah, I'm just headed back home now. I've been talking too long. I don't want to run you guys off. If you're liking the content, go ahead and like, subscribe, share the stuff. If you're a reader, I can almost promise you won't be disappointed. Check out my books at writethisway.com. That's WRITEDISWAY. If you know any readers, they won't be disappointed. Go ahead and visit the website. All right, you guys be easy. I'm hungry. I got to get some gas. Let me go ahead and get off this phone. Y'all be blessed.